Mike and Anne got married in 2011. They had a pretty ambitious honeymoon planned. They were going to have a 500-day honeymoon, which began in January 2012. They didn't know at the time that that would become a job for them. They have not been home since 2012. Have now worked with several major companies, including Microsoft. We'll show a quick video here in a second. They now have a book coming out in September with National Geographic called Ultimate Journeys for Two. This is now their third TBEX. So we're very, very excited to have Mike and Anne join us this morning. Let's show a quick video, and then we'll welcome Anne and Mike to the stage.
I'm Anne Howard.
And Michael Howard.
We left on our honeymoon in January 2012. It actually evolved into a business.
From our blog to video editing.
Our technology has to hang tough with us.
When you're going to a place without electricity, you need a long battery life. The touch combined with the screen resolution.
A Mac doesn't have that. We wanted to help more people get out there and see the world. Once you take that leap, that's where the magic happens.
A great example of how far travel blogging has come. Please welcome Mike and Anne Howard.
So we're on our way to safari in the Serengeti, and we are talking to the lodge. It's the Ngorongoro Crater Lodge with Anne Beyond, very luxury resort, and we call her for directions. And she says, "Oh, you can't take the bus. There's no bus." And we're thinking, wait a second, this is Africa's one of their biggest parks. There are people commuting every single day. There's got to be a bus. And we've been traveling this way around Africa for the past 90 days, taking little dala-dalas and matatus and minibuses traveling this way. So there had to be a way. Plus, there's a $150 private transfer she was talking about, not in our honeymoon budget. So we pressed her again for public transit directions, and she said, maybe the maintenance guy would know?
So we wake up the next morning at a little local guest house we were staying at before this luxury safari, as we do, and we walk over to the Arusha bus station, and when we get there, we realize why she's saying you shouldn't take the local bus, because we had chickens on our bus, there was mattresses strapped to the roof, and cows walking around, so she kind of wanted to protect us, but at that time we had been traveling through Africa, and we were weathered for it, and we loved that side of it. So we went up to this bus driver and said, hey, we're trying to get to Anne Beyond Safari Lodge, and he's like, ooh, like over there is where the tourist taxis are, that's probably safer for you. And we said, no, we want to get on the bus. He's like, okay, cool, throw your bags up on the roof and hop on. So we get on there. We sit up front near the driver so we can kind of see our stop. And
there are Maasai warriors in the back of the bus with their spears. It is quite the local scene.
Yeah, no exaggeration. Like with their spears, the red, crimson, tall, lanky guys, and we're chatting with the bus driver about growing up near the Ngorongoro crater, and someone else is chiming in about wildebeest coming to eat her vegetables in the morning, and the driver's translating for us. So it was just a blast riding there. And we skid up to the lodge, and like...
In the cloud of dust, we see the Ngorongoro staff with their white towels and their tropical drinks, and their jaws are just on the floor. And then we say goodbye to our friends. Oh, nice to meet you, thanks so much. And the rest of the bus mouths agape as well. It was as if two worlds had collided.
And we love colliding worlds.
So,
but that's our job.
That's our job, and for us, on the other hand, we take the local bus for this reason. We love bucking tourist norms and breaking down walls between cultures. And as bloggers, that's our job.
So how did we start traveling? How did we get to this luxury safari camp and champagne sunsets and whatnot? Well, as Rick mentioned, we left in January 2012 on what we thought was going to be a 500-day honeymoon. We actually wrote a 500-day lease on our apartment, which our realtor and renters thought was a kind of a funny number, but we said, nope, we're coming back to New York in 500 days, we'll be here. And so they signed that lease. And then we got out on the road, and we got addicted. We fell in love with stories, with people, and all the places that we were visiting, and we just couldn't leave the road, so.
And we also, when we were initially starting out, we just thought, life was short. And like you guys, this idea of fulfilling our dreams and waiting till our retirement to go travel, that just didn't seem like a good plan. So we set out on this 500-day honeymoon, but it wasn't a business endeavor. That was not the idea. But we thought with Mike's background in marketing and social media, he's an excellent photographer, and then I was a magazine editor and a writer, and thought, actually, maybe we have a shot at making this a business. So went to LinkedIn, great business resource, and thought, there's probably like a honeymoon romantic destination group. Lo and behold, there was. Put it out there. We're going on a 500-day honeymoon. Anyone want to work with us? And within 5 minutes, honeymoons.com said, call me. And we just started, we told them about our idea about, this honeymoon around the world. And they said, I think that's great. How about you scout the most romantic destinations around the world for us and blog about it? And we're like, that could not be better. Let's do it.
And it's just a perfect synergy, because they had a fair amount of content, but a lot of their content was generated by hotels that would send them press releases or a few stock photos. And they didn't really have any real travelers out there experiencing this hotels. And they were very focused on the Caribbean and Western Europe. So we kind of pitched them that, hey, we're going to a lot of these off-the-track places. We'll scout new hotels for you. We'll generate real content from a couple exploring these hotels. And we didn't go to many that they had on their site. We kind of found the best, most boutique, unique hotels that we wanted to stay at, and went to the hotel and said, hey, we're working with honeymoons.com. And at that point, HoneyTrek was very small. We had probably less than 1,000 followers on Twitter, or even across all our social, but we went to them and said, hey, we're working with honeymoons.com. We'll guarantee you placement on their site. You go to Google, type in honeymoons, they're #1 in the world. So that opened a lot of doors for us, and it's a great tip, especially for people that are starting out. If you can find somebody who's got a brand that's known and give your content to them, and then you can use their brand in your pitches, it immediately elevates you. And when you put that brand's name in the subject of an email, your open rate goes from 5% to 80% when you can say something that really catches somebody's eye. And that's what honeymoons.com did for us. And then we just got to experience amazing resorts, and they had somebody doing biz dev for them for 3 years around the world. So it's just a perfect synergy.
And it was a win-win for us, because we had got to the chance to have those experiences and build our brand in the process. So around the world we went, ticking off our bucket list and experiencing the most epic honeymoon experiences, going on African safari and, scaling the Great Wall of China and scuba diving the Great Barrier Reef and taking hot air balloon rides over Cappadocia and soaking in a Japanese onsen, and we even samba danced in Brazilian Carnival. So we were going on these countless experiences we'd only dreamt of.
But something happened on the road. I think anybody who's taken a really long trip around the world, and I'm sure most people in this room, just by traveling a lot, something happened in us probably a year or so into our trip, and it's the main reason why we're still traveling 5.5 years later. You find a connection with the local people. They become just your family, and their stories and their love is so deep that it becomes bigger than seeing the Eiffel Tower or the Great Wall of China or scuba diving the Great Barrier Reef. Those things just become a reason to get to the next place, but getting there and meeting those local people and sharing those interactions is way paramount to those actual bucket list items.
And those are also the best stories. We're writers and storytellers, and meeting the Maasai warriors on the bus and these Andean villagers who just invited us into their street festival, wound up dancing into the night with them.
They literally pulled us out of our taxi cab, and we were late to catch a bus, and they just stood in the road dancing, and they came up in Spanish, and our window was open, and they were like, you cannot pass until you dance. And we were like, oh, kind of laughed, and then she's like, no. Get up. And she reached in. I have a photo of her reaching in, grabbing on my cell phone, grabbing Anne's hand, and pulled us out. 3 hours of dancing, drinking
crazy chicha corn brew, and then hey, but if we had gone with our plan of just go to the resort and so focused on that bucket list, we would have never had one of the most amazing experiences of the trip. But So sure, with the honeymoons.com and exploring luxury resorts, of course it's nice to have gourmet meals and stay in ocean view suites and whatnot. But like Mike was saying, the more we had these sort of curated, westernized luxury experiences, it was keeping us from that local connection many times. So
we get to the Philippines, and this is, I guess, maybe 7 months into our trip, or maybe 10. and we've been talking with this place on Luzon, this amazing luxury resort with all these water sports and infinity pools and private villas, and we've been talking to them for a few months because we knew we were going to be there. And as we're just about to reply and say, yep, like we're going to do a week at your boutique place with, you know, all these amenities, a friend of ours on Facebook sees where we are and he says, oh, I see you just got to the Philippines. My friend lives over there. He's a marketing guy, and he met this Filipino girl, and, you know, I think you should totally go meet up with them and go off. I think they have like some tribal village up in the hills. Just reach out to them. Here's their Facebook. So we connect up with this girl, and, you know, door number one is this luxury villa that's probably one of the nicest places we would have ever stayed at. Number two is like trek into the jungle, get rained on, and go somewhere that we have no idea what's to come.
And so we hop on a jeepney, and
This is a jeepney.
Yeah, this is a jeepney. So we're riding on the roof. You know, we're taking these hairpin turns through the Cordillera Mountains. There's like sheer drop on the other side, and we get to the what we think is the stop to her town. No, it's actually the trailhead, and her town is still an hour deeper into the mountains. And all we really know about this place is that they're famous for headhunting, so that's comforting, and also that they're famous for this 1,000-year-old tradition of Kalinga tattooing. So we reach the village, and it's so idyllic, and it's, you know, bamboo homes, and you know, we meet Remy's family, and they invite us in for dinner. We're cooking over an open flame, and we spend the night all together. And in the morning, Remy's like, you need to meet Wangod. So Wangod is the last living Mama Batuk, which is the traditional tattooist. One village had their tattooist to sort of usher in rites of passage. So, you know, a birth, a wedding, a warrior who had brought home, literally bring her head and mark them with a tattoo as a badge of honor. We're there in her home here, and she is training her niece Grace, because she's the last living Mama Batuk, and if Grace, who's a teenager, doesn't learn, the tradition will die with her.
Because it has to be within the bloodline. She can't teach somebody else to do this tattooing technique.
Yeah, so we're watching her sharpen her thorn, and this ink is actually soot, and she's practicing her hammering design, and this just really struck us, like seeing that this 1,000-year-old tradition was going to rest on this teenager's shoulder.
So then, when we went to this village, we were not going there looking for a story or thinking, oh, we can find a human interest story, or we really want to meet this tattoo artist. It just sounded like a cool thing. Maybe we'll see some cool tribal tattoos. But we just went up there because this girl sounded cool, and it was a friend of a friend, and we wanted to get remote. But after being there, we were like, wow, that was a really special thing that we saw, and this beautiful woman, and just the stories from the other villagers about life and how the village was changing. And people would travel from all over the world to get tattoos from this lady and how that was affecting the village. So when we got home, we pitched the story to BBC. And we said, hey, we just saw this beautiful and amazing and unique story. And they loved it. They picked it up. It was the first story we ever did for BBC. And they put it on the homepage of the site. It was on their travel section as well, obviously. But the moral of that story is that media outlets more and more these days want to hear that human story. Like Gary said yesterday, top 10 lists are great, and there's tons of outlets that want that, and they'll pay you a few bucks for a top 10 list. But the really deep stories, and I think the ones that are most fulfilling for us and fulfilling for you, are those long-form human stories, and especially with everything in the media these days, they're really thirsty for those good stories, and this is a case in point. So to tell those stories, you need experiences. You've got to get out there. You've got to break free from the resort, meet locals.
It would be nice to stay in these luxury places, and we're not saying you have to skip those, and you don't have to skip, getting paid to travel. There is a way to do this. So which kind of brings us to a story about our house sitting in Mexico and where that led us.
Yeah, so we were house sitting in Mazatlan, and it happened to be over the Day of the Dead, which if anybody's ever been to that festival knows it's very colorful. It's a little bit dark, but everybody paints skulls on their face and dresses up in all sorts of outfits. And we were house sitting in a local's home, and right below us was this really cute couple you see over on the left, one Mexican guy and a Canadian lady that were a married couple. And she's super into Day of the Dead. So when she saw us move in, the first thing, she's like, hi, I'm Julie. and Day of the Dead is in a week, so we need to get ready. And we're like, oh no, it's going to get crazy. So the morning of Day of the Dead, we go down there and have a few beers, Pacifico beers, and she starts doing makeup, and she's giving us outfits, and she's like in a closet just pulling out outfits from the last 5 years of Day of the Dead that she's done. And we hit the town with them, and they're introducing us to the mayor of Mazatlan, and we marched in the parade like 2 people behind the mayor. It was just an amazing experience. Again, like not that we were planning on it or trying to make something happen, but it was just getting out there, being open, meeting locals, living locally.
And also that we fell in love with Mexico, but Mexico gets a bad rap, right? So we wanted to, we had felt such an incredible kindness from the friends we've met, the locals we've met just in happenstance encounters, and then we're like, we want to tell a positive story about Mexico, and it's not going to be in an all-inclusive resort. Let's share this story of the Mexico we know and love and do a road trip and kind of let down those walls and do a completely independent, road trip where we're sharing this love and kindness in Mexico, and we pitched this idea to an insurance company and said, okay, if we could do this road trip that we want, and we told them this idea and about breaking down walls and breaking those stereotypes, and that Mexico isn't as dangerous as people make it out to be, we're going to do a 5-day road trip to 5 cities and prove it. She said, love the idea, here's the budget, go. So
we headed out on the Allianz road trip, and it was just a really great synergy, and they're very open. They want us to, they just give us free reign to go and tell any story we want, meet anyone we want, and they gave us a budget, so we rented a car and did 5 cities across Mexico in 5 days, drove through Sinaloa, up into Durango, down through Guanajuato, which is one of our favorite cities in Mexico, if you haven't been there yet, and then down into Mexico City, and we just stayed a little bit local, a little bit hotels along the way, and just kind of told that story.
And it was a story that we wanted to tell anyway, and a trip we wanted to do anyway, and we found a brand that would align. So we're thinking, okay, this is about breaking down walls, but having that safety net, an insurance company. That would be a great company to pitch.
So finding that synergy is key. I mean, everyone's got a story they want to tell, and a message they want to get out there, an experience they want to have, and you need to find brands that are open to that and not be scared to send out that pitch that says, hey, I've got this dream to go and dance around the world. I want to dance in every city I go to. One of our good friends, Michaela, actually does this. And to go to a brand and bring that pitch to them. Don't be shy, because they want things that are unique, they want things that are authentic, and they want things that you have a passion for doing, because people can see that. They can see it in your videos, they can see it in your writing. If you're just going somewhere to get a nice clickable story of top 10 foods and you're not really a foodie, or top 10 views, and they can see through that. So they want to be with something that you're really passionate about.
And the good news is that travel bloggers are inherently inspiring people. You are all seeking other cultures and following your dream and traveling around the world. And so when Microsoft approached us, it wasn't because we were really great with PCs and hardcore techies. It's that we had an inspiring story, and like you all do. And there's a trend happening here actually within brands reaching out to travel bloggers because they are inherently inspiring. Like Brendan Van Son there, Brendan's Adventures, that was an Axe deodorant commercial. Do you think travel and deodorant? Maybe vaguely, but really it was that
not much.
that he was an inspiring guy, and they thought we align with that inspiration. Same with our friend Ashley Castle, Mutual of Omaha, and in a bank said, we want you to road trip around America, interviewing people and telling them their aha moment about a moment that changed their lives. And they thought, what better than a travel blogger to tell that story? And Nomadic Matt, you might know him. Asiana Airlines reached out to him because he's flying around the world and really knows a unique angle on transit. So this could be you as well.
So there's a balance to be had, right? I mean, everybody wants to get nice hotels and get comps when we're going, and we love that too, because it makes travel easier for sure. And a question about comps, like show of hands in the room, who's been comped a hotel stay in the last year aside from TBEX? Cool. So
Nice.
A good amount out there. Props to all you guys, and definitely don't stop doing that, because it's a great way to get to a new destination and a reason to get there. But it's important to to not let that luxury blind you, because especially as those comps get bigger and bigger and the transportation gets easier and easier and the flights start coming and maybe you're getting paid and you've got other engagements to do, it's easy to kind of forget about the local, forget about doing your own, traveling on overland and doing your own exploration, because those things are great and it's a little bit addictive. So it's important to not that luxury blind you. Still see the luxury side of it, but definitely make sure.
The people and the culture are what you've really come there for, and to not forget that. So say, for example, we're staying at this lovely resort. It's called the Coral Sands, and it's in Harbor Island in the Bahamas. And Harbor Island is actually a place where their motto is, home of friendly people. And we knew we weren't going to necessarily meet them at the lobby bar. So could have stayed there happily all evening, but we just started walking down the main street, and we hear music coming out of our corner store and laughter, and we're like, what's going on in there? So we pop in. And
it's a beer store. It's just like a proper liquor store, but there's like 5 people milling about and playing music and kind of dancing. So like, well, let's just go in and get a 6-pack and see what it's all about. So we roll in the front door of this place, and we're 2 white people, and everybody in there, is local and Bahamian, and the music's rocking. But we're like, we're going in anyway. So we walk in, and we're in line, and Tawanda over there in the pink, before we were good buddies with them, she's like, hey guys, welcome. We're like, hey, thanks. What should we get up here? What are you guys drinking? She's like, I'm drinking rosé. This is Tawanda land. So she just comes right over to us. Welcome to Tawanda land. So she comes right over to us and gives us 2 glasses, pours us 2 huge glasses of rosé. So it's we don't even get in line for beer. We're just sitting there chatting with them. We're telling them a little bit about our story and how long we've been traveling, and just getting out there and meeting people.
And then the music starts turning up, we all start dancing, someone's ordering some conch fritters, and then, lo and behold, we actually wound up taking a road trip with the guy on the right the next morning, just by nature of getting out there and just seeing what the locals were up to.
And it's just that kind of, it just brings such emotion to look at these guys that we knew for most of them just for a couple hours, just dancing with them in a bar and sharing beers, and we bought 6-packs and gave them to them. And the guy that came in that didn't even know us, just came in with conch fritters, didn't even know who we were, and he's just like, here, try some conch fritters. And it was just a beautiful experience that's not going to be on anyone's bucket list. It's not going to be on a hotel itinerary, and the concierge won't say, hey, head down to this bar, buy a 6-pack, and just hang in the corner. It's going to get fun. But that kind of thing is just travel magic, and you've got to put yourself out there. You've got to be open and not be, fearful of what's going to happen, because the world is beautiful, and people will treat you well.
So ways to get local, even if you are, doing a formalized press trip, or is to book in those fam trips.
This is our favorite one, because a lot of people do fam trips. Who's been on a fam trip in the audience? Cool. Fam trips are great. They're especially a great way to get to a new country. And our good friend Mike Shubik was just explaining that's one of his favorite ways to get to a place and explore, as it is ours. But the important thing is to not just fly in, do your fam trip, take the taxi cab that was paid for you, and fly home, because you're going to miss a lot of these other things that we're about to list in those local destinations. So we always, when we book a fam trip, we'll say, we'll do this fam if we can have a flight, let's say 5 or 7 or 3 weeks after we get there, because we want to go do some stuff on our own. We'll do our own Airbnbs and our own homestays. We'll take the public bus, and we'll be cool from there. But we just make our flights a little bit farther out so that we can explore the destination.
And whether it's a fam or not, just in general, always eat local. That's your invitation every day, to sit down next to somebody who's from there and get their recommendations on food and see what their life is like. I think every time you stay in a foreign country, try at least to do one homestay. It is the best possible access you could have into our culture that even the fanciest resort could never give you.
On the food, I think this will be our number 1 tip, if you take anything away from this talk, is learn the word delicious. No tourists very few learn the word delicious, and when you can tell a grandma over lunch or breakfast, and she's serving you in a little street stall, that this food's delicious, the smiles go wider than you've ever seen. You'll get hugs. You'll get introduced to the grandkids.
Nobody sees that one coming.
No one sees that coming. They see please, thank you, good. But if you can learn delicious, that is a game changer for all your meals.
You heard about our love for public transportation. Even if it's slower, it's where, the local color comes out. And, get outside. You're staying at a fancy resort, fabulous. Get outside those resort walls, even if it's just for a walk. Like, say, for example, we were at this amazing hotel called the Rock House on the cliffs of Negril, Jamaica, and we're about to go explore. It's broad daylight, it's a gorgeous day, and we go to the gate, and the security guard's like, whoa, can I call you a cab? And we're like, no, we're just gonna go walk around. And he's like, are you sure about that? We're like, it's gonna be fine. And if we listened to this man and sort of played into that fear of, stay here where it's safe, we wouldn't have had the best jerk chicken of our lives. We wouldn't have met Ronald, who is this guy who was like the great-grandson of the man who opened the initial road to Negril, and he's telling stories of when it was like all covered in jungle, and that would have never happened if we just sort of played it safe.
So your audience wants to be inspired. They look to you to kind of build their confidence in a new destination, in a new way of travel. And when they see you guys doing it, then they incorporate that into their own travel styles. And that's how they're going to get local and open up a little bit, become a little more vulnerable.
Yeah, to see you vulnerable, it's like anybody can imagine what a massage at a hotel is like, and they can figure out how to book that themselves. But, you charting your own path of adventure, visiting towns that aren't necessarily in guidebooks and having those experiences that aren't on the top 10 list, that's the kind of stuff people want to see you do first. And test the waters for them. Yeah,
so our blog, me and HoneyTrek, is about couples adventures. We definitely have a strong honeymoon beat. So people know us for that. But when we were in Japan, we had the opportunity, or we wanted to go woofing there, and we wanted to live with a local Japanese family on a farm. So we did that for a few weeks at the foot of this amazing volcano, lived with this family. It was just us and this Japanese family and their kids. We ate 3 meals a day with them. We learned Japanese. We were harvesting leeks and daikon for the local community. And it wasn't our beat, but it's one of our top 3 most traffic articles of all time, is this woofing experience. So my point there is, while it's good to have a niche, and that's a very important thing, don't be scared to break out of your niche occasionally and try something different, because it's refreshing for your audience, and you never know what's going to stick, what's going to get picked up, what's going to get reshared. So try different things, because not only is it good for you, but it's also good for your audience to see you doing different things and not always the same train track.
Yeah, we know that blog specifically has sent dozens of people to that exact farm and had people think outside, like, ooh, maybe I would try woofing, and have gone to help other organic farmers around the world. So, human stories are what's, unique and infinite. The stories about the Eiffel Tower and Yellowstone National Park, those stories have been told, but the people you meet there are new and fresh every time.
So, case in point, we did another campaign with the Cayman Islands Tourism Board, and they basically sent us, they reached out to us and said, hey, we see on your site you haven't honeymooned in the Caymans, we're big for honeymoons, you guys should come down here. We said, you don't have to twist our arm twice. And they sent us an itinerary, and it was obviously very honeymoon focused. It was couples massages and meals on the beach and romantic boat
lovely
trips.
Things, all the keynote, marquee things to do in the Caymans.
Totally. And like I said, we love doing those things, and we're not going to turn down all of them, but we wrote back to them and said, hey, let's keep these things in the pitch, which are in the proposal, which we definitely want to include in the honeymoon side, but we also want to get local. We pushed back on them a little bit and said, what local things can we do? What locals can we meet? We want to rent a car. We want to have a car for the week that we're there, or the 4 days of the fam, and then an extra 3 days that we bookended it, because we want to get out and explore on our own, and we want to find that local story. And they wrote back, and they were pumped. They were like, that's awesome. Like, we're so glad you want to meet local Caymanians and tell their story. So they introduced us to all sorts of fun people.
And they were like, we didn't think you wanted that. I'm so glad you said something. So
they introduced us to the guy who...
Yeah, and then, by doing that, then it led us onto an interesting road where we met, like, the unofficial historian. He has all sorts of crazy stories, and, we wound up going to the farmer's market and trying a 3rd-generation pepper jelly recipe and things that aren't on those top 10 lists. Lead by example, right? People look to you for what to do and what not to do. So, and the choices you make, be them large and small, people are taking notice. So where you can, maybe think about making a positive impact. Say, for example, visit.org is a great site where it's a way to explore a city, but what they're doing is they're a tour company that benefits nonprofits, so that, if you're gonna, take an Andean weaving course, and then that goes to benefit a nonprofit for Andean women.
And they're really good at working with bloggers too. So if you reach out to visit.org, just tell them Mike and Anne from HoneyTrek sent you, and you'll get a comp trip wherever you are. Well, maybe. Don't quote me.
And
quote me, I don't care.
Travel and social good. It's actually an initiative with the UN, and basically it's this community. So they have travel hubs in many major cities. So check them out. You can have a community for sustainable travel. You can also become part of their media group, so that you can help spread the word of positive travel. And
CATALYS.cm. It's not .com, but .cm. That's a good one to get some inspiration for getting local. Muskoka Foundation, which is Do Good As You Go. We did some volunteering with them. They're really good about long-term travels, especially overland travelers. They're super flexible, and all of their opportunities are unpaid, so you don't have to pay to volunteer there. And then one that's really near and dear to our heart is Moving Worlds. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of the term experteering. You've probably all heard of volunteering, but experteering is where they take your skills, not just your ability to swing a hammer or kick a soccer ball with kids in an orphanage, but your skills, and you guys have tremendous skills. Everybody in this room is, compared to a lot of nonprofits out there, a social media expert, a digital marketing expert, a copy editor, a WordPress expert, because there's so many organizations out there that are just struggling to share their message. And what they do well is protect rhinos or protect at-risk youth. They don't do Twitter and Instagram well. So that's where you guys can come in. And again, all of their placements are completely free. You don't pay anything to volunteer. It's a nominal fee, I think, if you want to do an engagement of like $100 for paperwork. But you don't pay anything to volunteer. And a lot of times, if you stay for more than a week or two, they'll pay for your lodging and your food where you are. So you go on there and you put in your skill set, what country you want to go to, and when you want to go, and they'll pair you up with different organizations all around the world. So it's an amazing group to check out.
And a chance to live abroad.
And a chance to live abroad.
So you're an ambassador for your home country, whether you know it or mean to be or not, just by nature of being out there. So always have a huge smile on your face. Whether you're talking to a concierge or a street vendor, be the kindest person you can be. And good things will happen. Doors will open, and you'll leave a lasting and positive impression.
And you're also ambassadors for all the places you visit. People always think, okay, well, I'm an American or I'm a Brit, so I'm going to be an ambassador for my home country. But once you go to Thailand or China or Mexico, you are immediately an ambassador for that country as well. So keep that in mind, that when you're meeting other people and you maybe hear a stereotype or something, just be there to break down that wall and remove that fear of the other from those places that that some people have.
What you're writing about, your readers are seeing that country through your lens, and that's a pretty important role that you have, and the way you shape that is a large responsibility. So we think to connect your readers to those positive stories and inspire them to find their own, to spread this message of love and tolerance. So say, for example, like we went to China. China has a notoriously bad rap for, people are rude in China. And so we went to China, and we're trying not to think this way, but, there's some people spitting on the ground, and I've just been cut in line 3 times. But we are waiting in line, and we're trying to get a bus we're deep in Yunnan, and no one is speaking English. So in our best, terrible Chinese, we say to a woman, like, do you speak English? And she freaked out, and she's like, ah, and just walked away. And we're like, wow, that was kind of rude, wow. And we're feeling a little hopeless, like we're never gonna get to our next destination down to the Yangtze River. And just when we were about to give up, Mike feels a tap on his shoulder, and a little boy was like, I heard you needed assistance. May I help you? And we see our woman around the corner who had gone to find a young boy who could speak English to then help us. So what seemed like it was rude on the onset was actually she was helping in the best way she knew how. So if you can open your mind about other cultures and ways of life, you are doing your job right as bloggers. Show them that foreign is not necessarily different, and it's definitely not bad. Help them relate to other cultures and show them there's always a way to connect and find common ground. Now, there is this amazing video. I don't know if you've seen it. It was actually a Danish TV commercial called All That We Share that speaks to this, not putting people in boxes and seeing the good in the intersections of humanity. So we have that clip for you.
It's easy to put people in boxes. There's us, and there's them. The high earners, and those just getting by. Those we trust, and those we try to avoid. There's the new Danes, and those who've always been here. The people from the countryside, and those who've never seen a cow. The religious, and the self-confident. There are those we share something with, and those we don't share anything with.
Velkommen. Jeg kommer til at stille jer nogle spørgsmål i dag. Nogle af dem kan godt være lidt personlige, men jeg håber, I vil svare ærligt på dem. Hvem herinde i rummet var klassens klovn? Hvem er bonusforældre?
And then suddenly, there's us. We who believe in life after death. We who've seen UFOs. And all of us who love to dance. We who've been bullied. And we who've bullied others. And then there's us, the lucky ones who've had sex this past week. We who are broken-hearted. We who are madly in love. We who feel lonely. We who are bisexual. And we who acknowledge the courage of others. We who have found the meaning of life. And we who have saved lives. And then there's all of us who just love Denmark. So maybe there's more that brings us together than we think.
Maybe some of you are as choked up as I am watching that and just thinking about everything. But one thing that's true across all 7 continents is whether it's a city or a village or a mountain or the coast or the Palestinians or Jewish, it's that people want the same thing. They want a safe life for their family. They want a few diversions after work. They want to follow a few travel blogs. They want to have lots of smiles. They definitely want to travel. And in a world where prejudice and biases can easily run rampant on social media and news outlets, it's really our goal personally, and I think our duty as travel bloggers who are out there meeting these cultures, seeing these people in the flesh and experiencing things with them to break that down for the rest of the world who's at home, either in their cubes or in their living room, watching the news and having a certain perception, that we need to get out there and kind of share that kindness and positivity that exists in the world over.
Yeah, so breaking, there is a crazy political climate right now, and we have to be, the leaders to break down, to buck those prejudices and those fears of others, and that's our job as travel bloggers, and it's more important than ever right now. So at the same time, we're not saying go sugarcoat things, say everything's like hunky-dory and everyone's the nicest person in the world, but the honesty in journalism is still and always will be key. But the dominant news out there is negative, and we need to tip the scale. Use your platforms to share this kindness and understanding and hope. There can never be enough reminders of that. So we leave you with the wise words of Shalom Sesame. If any of you read this growing up or not. I was actually at my friend Alana's house in Los Angeles, and she was putting her son Isaac to bed, and there's all these kids' books strewn on the floor, and I was like, it's a mitzvah, Grover. That looks entertaining. So I picked
I'm going to
him.
Israel in a week.
Going to Israel in a week, see what Grover has to say. And it was about a storm that ravaged their playground and what they were going to do. And Brosh, the Israeli orange Muppet, or whatever they are at Sesame Street, replied to the situation with a phrase. He said, Tikkun Olam. And Grover scratched his head. He's like, Tikkun what? And the book continued.
Tikkun Olam, explained Brosh. It means repairing the world. The storm has made a real mess of our playground, and we need to fix it up. We need to make it better than it was before, and that is Tikkun Olam. So we need to get out there and repair the world, and that's just our message to you guys, that do whatever you can to share that human story. Use your power as influencers. You have so many followers. The people in this room, we're reaching millions of people every day with the stories we share. So just keep sharing the good in the world and the love, and meeting as many local people as you can and hearing their stories and getting off the beaten track, and just get out there and inspire 10 more people that you know to do the same thing, and the world is going to be a better place. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anne and Mike. Great job. Those of you who have been to TBEX before, you can put me in the box of people who get misty-eyed at great keynotes. That was a great job, you guys. Really, really appreciate it.